Hey guys, Crizo here. I'm here to talk about the currency in Path of Exile 2 and my experience not using it to get a piece of gear for the first time. Ideas that I have to potentially fix the currency system, not simply just address the currency problem to you. Do you guys know there's a currency problem? I don't know if you've seen a video on it yet, but I'd like to talk about, I don't know, what I think might help with it and also an overview of it. So to start off, just so we have a foundation and so you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from, I'm playing standard trade league. I have a 91 infernalist. This thing, you know, I like decent gear, like one or two divs for each of these except the shield, which I didn't pay for. Pretty standard stuff. Recently though, I had an experience in the game where I didn't have to buy spend exalts in order to get a piece of gear, and that was for the Maxhuli's Mahus the Machination shield. And you see, I slotted these myself, except for this last one I did buy with 300 exalts. Oops. But I farmed Chaos Trials. I did like 25 of them. Got the shield to drop, double corrupted it, threw all these in there because I heard rarity was broken, you know. So I've been getting a lot of exalts. I've only seen one divine in like 15 maps. It's actually not as cool as I thought it was gonna be, you know. So I'm glad I didn't actually spend the fucking currency for the shield. I'm glad I farmed it because, you know, everyone's like, oh, fix rarity, but it's not like you're getting fucking, you know, a billion divines. Granted, the way I could max this and the way a max item finder build would look is with breach rings. You would wear 2 breach rings with as high as item finders you can get, and then you get the ingenuity belt. I have one breach ring with no item finder, and I don't have ingenuity because, one, I don't want to buy it. I like to try to farm that stuff because of the point I'm about to make, and 2, because the atlas is fucking dumb right now and it doesn't show you where the citadels are, and you kind of just have to look really closely and hope you don't miss it, you know. Whatever. So I'm not terribly worried about ingenuity as much as I like to play around with it. I digress. The point I think that I like to start would come from here, because the currency in Path of Exile 2, while really fun to use when it's a good idea to, those opportunities are few and far between. If you read here, the rare item with the new random modifier on the Exalted Orb, I don't mind throwing this currency, this type of orb down on an item I get that has one good stat on it. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll try to get something good on it, maybe 2 or 3 times. But early on in the game, if you don't have a lot, that feels really bad to do. It almost feels dumb, because it is, you know. And some of these other orbs have similar effects. You know, you read these early on and you go, oh, I kind of want to try that. I have, you know, a decent piece of gear. I'd like to, you know, chaos it or something. But the reality is that you kind of end up regretting that decision, especially early on as an early player. If you have something more premium, like a divine orb. Divine orbs, they reroll the range values of a random stat modifier. So here I would get like random ally presence damage, attack lightning damage, or a different percentile on the spirit increase for my scepter, you know. One divine orb runs about 88 exalts right now, which is exorbitant. I've never seen it that high. So to use one divine orb to reroll maybe a stat modifier that you got low, you know, not guaranteed, it's fucking ridiculous. You're never gonna use that, right? But you're in trade league, so you're supposed to trade it. No, I don't believe that's the case. Because if that was the case, then why the fuck is it even an option to do it in the first place? You know what I'm saying? This system could be circumvented with a different system. A different system in which these are simply used as currency, and then a separate item that you buy with this currency is instead, you know, used with the same effect. I think that would be a much more effective system than this currency system that we have. Or another solution to this could be that you just make the currency extremely abundant And so like you don't feel bad slamming 3 or 4 divines the same way you don't really feel bad slamming 3 or 4 exalts if you have as many as I have here, you know. Unless you're real freaking you know, I don't know, it's up to you. But as for my case, I don't feel terrible slamming exalts. And especially don't feel terrible slamming Vels. I'm slamming Vels all day long, as you could. I guess you can't tell that much, but I only have 2 in my inventory now. But any 15 I get, I always slam it. This thing, I slammed like 3 of these, and I sold them before I got one with like. Before I found out about the double roll ritual item that you can get for Valorbs. Whoops! And then I bought one of those to slam it again, and I finally got the 3rd socket, which is what I was looking for. You know, Lessers you use a lot, but you know these things with utility, it's like, oh great, like, you know, always got to quality my stuff, blah blah blah. Like these things work really well, you know. But these appear as a currency, I think, struggle. Because it's just like these effects are valuable, but they're just not as valuable as the items that they're tied to necessarily, right? So it's just weird. It's very weird, and the economy's fucked. So I'd like to see either a separation of currency and effect, or just make currency like in Final Fantasy 14, where it doesn't matter really, like no one really cares because everybody has so much of it, and like trades are done in like extremely high amounts, you know, like, you know, so like expensive items will still be expensive, but now you don't feel bad slamming 50 divines, you know, in a day. And I think that's kind of cool. I think that's the way it would play better. It would be more fun that way, because it's so fun to use this stuff. And the way it works right now, like, it's maybe it's just at the higher end, or maybe just in trade, like this might as well just say $848, you know, like it doesn't have to say anything else. These two, like, I don't know, like I'm never gonna run out of these. Like, why do they exist? Whatever, you know, why do these exist again? Why are these have the opposite problem? Like, they're useless. Like, you only use them for the effect. They're like, so why aren't they just effect items? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why does it have to be this weird gradients where they still sort of have value? Like, it's just, I don't know, like, it makes it kind of clunky almost, you know. You leave too much of the balance in the hands of like this of the economy. Coming back to the machination, you know, this was my first experience in PoE actually going out and farming a boss for a specific drop, which I know can be done with a lot of the Atlas bosses, but as I mentioned, I'm having a lot of trouble getting those. I haven't done Breach Stone yet, but I have like 150 Breach Splinters. I'm almost there. My computer lags really bad when I do Breach, so it's hard for me to do those. I did get a couple of these though. Who knows? But dude, farming this, like I mentioned earlier, I did like 25. I got it. I got the shield to drop a couple times, and it just felt really good, man, to slot these versus, like, I don't know about y'all, but I don't get fucking giddy when I'm on the PoE trade website, and then I'm like, ooh, I'm finally gonna get my helmet, yay! Like, you know, I finally farmed 3,000 exalts or whatever the fuck. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? It's just not the same thing as like getting it yourself, you know, grinding it out, pounding it out. And that's kind of what I want to do with Ingenuity for that reason, where I'm like, yeah, I could just like grind out the orbs to buy Ingenuity. I could go do more Chaos Trials. I can make more shields. I can get more of these soul cores, and then just buy Ingenuity. You know, that's how I've been farming exalts. Maybe that's not the most efficient way, you know, but that's the way that's been making me the most money so far. So that's just what I do whenever I need to. Which is not terribly often. I don't buy like crazy high-end gear, you know. But now this puppy, well, you know, I don't know. I like to think this shit's gonna get nerfed to the ground. It's gonna be worthless pretty soon, but who knows? Maybe they won't do too much damage to it. Add intrinsic value to currency, or make it two separate things. Remove the effects from them and putting out something else that's not too expensive, like ridiculously expensive to use. And then for the uniques as well, like, You know, just make crazy cool things like this, make them drop more often, make the bosses more available. Like, I think the most readily available unique boxes with exclusive loot pools, I could be wrong, is Secamus, the Trial of Secamus, forgive me, and the Chaos Trial as well. So the 2 trials you get for your ascendancies. Like getting to the Trial Master and the 4th boss of the Secamus Trial is fairly easy at the later stages of the game, and those bosses are generally easier than the Atlas bosses. And as far as I'm aware, as far as I'm familiar with, like, there's like Ingenuity that drops from the Ritual Stone boss, and then I'm not too sure of the other exclusive unique drops. I'm sure there are more, but like the Chaos Trial, the Trial Master drops a shield, and he drops like a headpiece that's trash that I haven't really seen utilized. I think, at least for me, that could just be my ignorance. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about, dude. It's just that like this seems to be a pretty hot topic of debate, and I wanted to add my idea of, like, you know, separating the value of the currency away from the effect, and just like making the effect its own value, because I don't think Divine should cost 80. I don't think it should cost 88 Exalteds to reroll a random range of values on one of your stat modifiers. What kind of game is that? You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't you guys rather be playing a game where like you could just slam divines and you get like a fucking crazy 6 spirit roll on your chest piece, and then you sell that? Like, it's just healthier. Like, there can be an economy where we just all have good gear and we're all selling shit, and it's cool. And it's cool because at the highest end of content, like, I don't know, like, people are beating the highest pinnacle bosses, at least right now in the early access version. You don't have to be like crazy extremely optimized for it. You know, like, you don't have to be like spending 46 divines on every single piece of armor, you know. Maybe 1 or 2 divvies here and there, but like a lot of people make it work. And so why is it like that then? You know, if it doesn't require it, but like how much stronger you can get past what the game requires is just insane. You know, so I think it should be more attainable, at least in terms of trade and economy, in Trade League. But more than I think it should be attainable, I just think currency should operate in a manner that's more fun than the current implementation. Like, it would just be more fun at the end of the day. So that's all I had to say. I'm gonna go to sleep. Happy New Year. I'm gonna take this shit off to its itchy. Oh, please don't nerf demon form.